everyone, and thank you so much for dialing into our webinar session this morning. This is session number 3 of 3. So for those of you who don't know me, who some of you may not, I am Misha and I am the Business Development Manager at PayCheck. And I'm joined here this morning by Hannah and Adrian from Mattioli Woods, who have so kindly agreed to do a series with us, which you can see obviously on your screen, which are highlighting the secrets of a great benefits package between 3 different stages in your career. So the final session today is the late career. If you were unable to attend the previous 2 sessions, that's not a problem. You don't need to have joined them to attend this one. And we do have recordings to them. So if you would like to see the previous 2 sessions, you can just pop that in the question box and I can get those sent over to you. As well as this one is also being recorded, so we can send that to you at the end of the session today. I'm going to hand over now to Hannah and Adrian, who are going to take you through the presentation today. So please send through any questions that you have as we go through the session. Thank you.
Thank you, Misha, and good morning. Welcome to this webinar facilitated by PayCheck, your trusted payroll bureau, and delivered by Mattioli Woods, who are employee benefit experts. This is the third of 3 short 25-minute webinars where we'll be exploring the secrets of a great benefit package. The earlier webinars in the series looked at themes which are important to employees in their early and mid-career. As Misha said, if you've missed these and would like a copy, please pop a request in the chat and we can forward you the links. This is the third webinar and we'll be looking at benefits which are important to employees in their late career. So during these times when employers are finding it tricky to recruit experienced candidates and really where employers are facing spiraling salary competition when trying to retain their best people, ensuring that the reward package is relevant for employees towards the end of their careers is an essential objective for a lot of businesses. We do understand that getting the pay levels right is a critical aspect of total reward. If the pay or culture isn't right, no amount of extra employee benefits will necessarily resolve those issues. However, in our experience, employers willing to treat employees as individuals and cater for their needs sets those employers apart from the rest of the market. As Misha said today, your speakers are myself, Hannah Dolding. I'm a senior employee benefit consultant from Mattioli Woods. My role for the last 20 years or so is to help employers tailor benefit packages all the way from voluntary or online engaging options through to the more traditional pension and wellbeing benefits. I'm joined today again by Adrian Firth. He is our Mattioli Woods in-house expert in relation to financial education. Adrian's had a vast amount of experience in terms of engaging employees at different life stages, helping to understand issues they face, supporting them with questions regarding benefit packages and broader financial matters. For those of you who don't know us, Mattioli Woods, we're a national employee benefit and wealth management firm. We've got over 800 staff across the UK. During this session, we'll be referring to anecdotal comments from a small population of our colleagues, as well as a sample from outside our organisation in their late career stage. This is all broadly intended to add colour to the secrets we will share about a great benefit package. Whilst we appreciate interviewing employees of a financial firm may not represent the entire population of workers in the UK, or indeed your firm, we are thrilled by the common themes which came through, which reflect similar comments from our client bases and our clients' employees too. Our discussions will take approximately about 25 minutes, and then we would like to open up the call to questions. So please feel free to pop any questions as we go through in the chat as well. All of these will be anonymous. So in preparation for the webinar, we interviewed a population of 20 staff in order to see that if there was any sort of commonality of opinion, as well as understanding the diversity of comments which echo the experience we have when sharing thoughts with our corporate client employees. When considering what employees want or need, there are 3 simple questions to ask them about their views on benefits. And this is how we approached our own colleagues in each of the benefit interviews. Now, before we go into the results, have a think about these three questions and put yourself into the mindset of someone in their late career. They're generally skilled workers who are at a point in their career where they may be thinking about retirement in the not too distant future, or at least moving to part-time roles in order to find a better work-life balance. Some may be concerned that they do not have enough savings to retire and are worried about their health as they get older. So the first question we asked was, what is important to you in terms of the benefit package you currently have? And the purpose of this question is to get employees thinking about their current situation. The second question was, have things changed in the past few years or pre-pandemic? Now, this is an important question to establish where there have been changes in that person's mind since perhaps a benefit package was put in place. Certainly if a benefit package hasn't been reviewed in a long time, asking the employee to focus on their own situation and whether they think they have changed helps set a starting point for a discussion. And finally, we asked, what do you think an employer of choice should be providing? Now, a lot of clients in the past have shied away from an open invite question. However, by asking the open question, you may well get some truly insightful comments back in terms of their current thinking. Okay, so let's have a look at the responses we received. In undertaking our anecdotal research with our late demographic, we also reached out to a few external participators too, who were looking at retirement in the next 12 months. We asked the external candidates what would keep you in work beyond your selected retirement age. Now, these respondents noted that they were unmotivated at this stage to stay in their respective jobs. They were senior professional workers, so some were in healthcare, some in building retail supplies. The comments back included that they noted there were aspects in their jobs which, if were changed, they would like to continue working. So one person noted that they wanted to mentor employees in their early careers. So bringing people on, sharing the knowledge and experience, and this would make that individual consider extending their tenure. In the healthcare employees, some were feeling that they are now drowning in paperwork, which is preventing them from doing and performing their care role, which they gain most reward from. In both of these example industries, employee benefits alone would not convince them to stay. So we do recognise that in terms of the content we're sharing with you. However, moving to the questions that we set out previously. So the answer to the question, what is important to you now? Common responses were much more about pension savings and healthcare than the early and mid demographic. People in their late career had a really strong grasp on how much they had or how little they had and whether they could afford to retire. As with the mid-career, there is a concern in this population about keeping healthy. There is a strong desire for private medical cover, which addresses acute medical conditions. One employee was also willing to pay for private healthcare themselves to address conditions that they may suffer in future, and they weren't actually in a private healthcare scheme. So this is self-funding private healthcare. The late career is generally the population of employees who are skilled professionals. They are perhaps sometimes at the top of their game. They're not necessarily looking for further progression. Adrian, as a financial wellbeing specialist, when you are conducting your workshops, what do the late career demographics share with you in terms of their worries?
Well, first of all, my apologies. I noticed that you were supposed to be on this slide, so I moved it on for you. Sorry, Hannah. I hope that's all right. And everybody's had a chance to read what's on the screen there. But yeah, I mean, listen, the later career people or pre-retirement groups are the most popular financial education sessions that we run. They're by far and away the most number of sessions that we deliver. And the main issue that I want to draw out from talking to those groups is just one of confusion, really. Because the pensions industry and people who work in financial services have done a fantastic job of shrouding the income and the pensions retirement planning in acronyms and in jargon and in limits and tax, and all these things complicate things. So what people actually just want to know is how much do I need to retire comfortably, and then they can plan around that.
Okay, and I think in terms of their priorities and preferences, is there anything that you can share in that context?
No, and this is where it's a very mixed bag. And we were actually chatting about this before we came on the webinar itself. But retirement now is totally different to how it was 20 years ago, if you wind the clock back. I mean, on a Friday afternoon, you'd have had a party and somebody would have given you a carriage clock or a wristwatch, and then you'd have nothing to do on Monday morning. And now, and it's interesting, the questions about the pandemic. But now people have got more flexibility. So subject to being over the age of 55, people can stop work and then start work, or they can move from full-time to part-time to being fully retired. You know, and we are seeing a lot of people using that flexibility to say, let's take 2 years off and use some of our money to have a great time. And then we'll come back to work and we'll carry on working for a little bit longer. And then we'll go part-time and top up our part-time income by using income from pensions. So there's a huge different vast array of choices that people are making. I think they just need help from us as to how they can transition from full-time to part-time to being fully retired later than previous generations have been.
Yeah, okay. And I'm certainly seeing that in my friends in their 50s making these part-time choices. So I guess what type of benefits, employee benefits, have the greatest positive impact in this group?
Well, you mentioned earlier on, but employee benefits are slightly, less on the wish list of people who are moving up to retirement. But I think there are a couple of things that are really complementary. I'm going to mention share plans first of all. Now, I know a lot of companies, unless they're big companies and listed on the London stock market, or larger companies that can afford to do it privately. But share options are really good for people who are coming up to retirement, because everything that they put into them, or any, additional amount of money they can get into employee share plans, well, there's a section there that says if you leave the company for reasons of retirement, you're classed as a good leaver. So you get all of everything that you've put in tax-free, if you like, at that point when you leave. Whether that's a share incentive plan or a share save scheme, it's literally like Christmas has come early on those types of benefits. But again, I appreciate that they're for the bigger companies and very expensive to operate. For smaller companies, I think having something like a workplace ISA and communicating with those later career employees about how important having savings in an ISA could be, I think that's just as important. Because if you're looking at taking income in retirement, for most, the money that comes out of pensions will be taxable because it'll go towards income tax. So I would argue that having a large amount of money in an ISA would be just as advantageous, because the money coming out of the ISA is from a tax-free source and doesn't contribute towards income tax. So having that flexibility and being able to top up your pension without increasing your tax bill is quite advantageous. And I think having a workplace ISA is something that they can help plan their income for the 20 or 30 years that they might need it in retirement.
Definitely. And once again, we recognise it's important not to generalise. The best way to make sure employees feel that they are looked after is that there are options that they can tailor to their work-life benefits, to their own circumstances, and perhaps most importantly, that they are communicated well, especially to these people in the retirement phase or the approaching retirement phase for the demographic. So moving on to the next question, have their views changed since before the pandemic? Potentially unsurprising, this question was less significant for the late career population. perhaps because less has changed in terms of their view of benefits for those in their later career. All participants said that there had been no notable change in their views since before the pandemic in relation to employee benefits specifically. Now, 2 employees stressed the importance of family coming more to the fore when thinking about their views in general and whether these had changed. It was more in reference to life views than to benefits in terms of context there. But wanting to look after family members as well as their own health has really become important and was a key response throughout this population. For people in their late career, the responses we saw were more focused on trying to ensure that their approach to life was catered for. And it was less about the small items, such as voluntary benefits, more about the bigger picture aspects of healthcare and pensions. Adrian, have you seen employee requirements change over the last few years in this demographic when conducting your financial education sessions?
Well, I think you hit on it early on, but I don't think their outlook has changed because of the pandemic. But I think employees in this age group, and certainly the ones I talk to, are very aware of the value of the more important employee benefits that they've got. So they've kind of grown up, and they're at that time of life where they can appreciate having life assurance or having income protection is a really strong insurance product that they like having as part of their employee benefits package. And that's, I think, also contributing to people's decisions to transition into retirement, because you don't have a line in the sand anymore. And as people move from full time to 4 days a week to 3 days a week, it has the advantage that they are freeing up their time, and they might be able to draw down some money from pensions to help them with that. But they're staying employed, so they're still a member of those really important employee benefits that they do value. And it's just adding weight to their transitional approach to looking at retirement. I think that they hold on to those benefits for a little bit longer. But from the pre-retiree groups, has the pandemic changed their minds about anything? No, I don't think so.
Yeah. Okay. And I've certainly heard comments from people who are staying in work because they have the life cover, because they have income protection benefits. And these are still important because they're still potentially caring for, albeit much older children, but children at home. So they still have sort of financial responsibilities beyond their own situation there. Okay, so moving on to the final question. It is fair to say that our own workers, again, have a good understanding of typical benefits offered due to their job role. But the importance placed on pension savings were higher still than seen in earlier demographics. 2 of the 5 noted specifically they wanted 10% employer contributions as the ideal rate. And they were happy that there might be sort of matching service-related options, or just a matching requirement in order to get to the best level of contributions for their ideal participation. Now, when talking about service-related options, you just have to have a little care that you're not indirectly breaching age discrimination legislation. So service-related options are generally okay up to a maximum of 5 years service. Income protection was raised by 3 of the participators. This is the first time it's been noted as an important benefit really across the demographic. It again highlights that employees in their late career are potentially more financially aware, and they also may feel vulnerable to longer term illness or injury that would impact their ability to receive income from the employer in those circumstances. Perhaps they've also experienced colleagues who have gone off on long-term sick and therefore have seen value in such arrangements in terms of protecting the earnings while still being employed. It was interesting to note employee 3's response on the slides in relation to how they view an employer of choice. It was similar to the external responders and their comments, in that it's less about benefits for some people and more about actually feeling able to contribute positively to work and ultimately be appreciated for the contribution that individual makes. None of our population interviewed placed voluntary benefits high on their wish list, other than one made reference to a health cash plan being useful in terms of providing cash refunds for their spouse's glasses. The secret really, therefore, in this population is to have strong core benefits to support them, supporting their health, good savings options, perhaps not just pension, but if you are able to offer share incentive, corporate ISA, or other type savings, or at least education around that, this may prove popular with this group. Often core employee benefits, cost of business less than a huge pay rise. Budgeting for benefits can be a way to offset the spiraling salary inflation that we're facing at the moment as employers. Where you've got low paid workers in this demographic in particular, they can sometimes feel they have less opportunity for progression and subsequent pay rises, therefore providing help towards the cost of living crisis, either through direct one-off payments or supportive financial education, where you're providing them with the tools to try and help them make their money go further, may also form an essential part of the benefit package. Adrian, what have you found in terms of requests from this population, in terms of the ideal situation?
Well, you've touched on them on the way through, but I think health and insurance are the two sides of the employee benefits picture, which employees really value and want to keep hold of, or even try to replicate when they leave the workplace, which is quite difficult because it's very expensive to replicate those kind of corporate plans. But where they exist at the moment, we're seeing a lot of comments around healthcare, and if companies do have them in place, then ways in which employees can use them to the maximum advantage to look after their well-being and make sure that they're fit and they're healthy. And I think also it might be just a sign of the times in that over the pandemic and since then, the NHS service has struggled a little bit to keep up, and they're regularly in the headlines. And I think that in itself has just attracted a lot of employees to look at what their employer can offer them or what they have in place with their employer to substitute, like having a health cash plan and having a virtual GP service is quicker to see a virtual GP than it is to wait a long time to see your local GP. So those things are really important to the employees. And also you touched on it, but having something that has some tax efficiency associated with it as a hook to get them involved, it is also something that attracts their attention. And something simple like having a workplace ISA, which makes it just really easy for them to plow some money in the lead up to their retirement. And they do appreciate the fact that having that lump sum helps them when they're trying to plan some income in retirement. Having something which in most cases doesn't count towards income tax would be good.
Yeah, okay. I would agree with that as well. So the final aspect that we wanted to touch upon is employees get closer to retirement, ensuring they understand what they'll be able to get from their retirement savings and any other savings is an essential part of supporting this demographic. However, with the demand in the market for experienced employees, having a two-way engagement structure is also important. If you wish to keep your employees in the workplace through their career, understanding their individual motivation to continue to work is essential. Again, I'm going to hand back to Adrian now to talk about the communication and language observations for those in their late careers.
Well, I think over the past 7 or 8 years that we've been delivering pre-retirement programs for employees, there are a number of things that have come out of that which employees find more useful than anything else. I think the main thing is to just completely avoid any acronyms or any jargon when you're talking about that transition from full-time to part-time to being fully retired. Now, there is a lot of information to cover with that group, like what the pension freedoms mean to them, but you need to try and do it in a really straightforward way that doesn't bamboozle people about what options they've got. Literally, if they just think about their pension as a big bank account, then they're a long way towards thinking about how to access it and how to get money back out of it. You do need to consider a lot of things other than pensions. So we get caught up with pensions, but there's actually a ton of other stuff that goes with this transitional period of later career. Things like having a will in place to look after, you know, your family and your estate, having a power of attorney in place. Costs you a couple of £100 to do it now, but if something happens to you, you become incapacitated or have a stroke or something like that, then to go and become a ward of court, to go to the courts and achieve the same thing, costs thousands of pounds. So it's like a cheap insurance policy. Reminding people about their well-being at this point in life. So it's not all about financial well-being. It is their mental well-being and their physical well-being all linked together. So getting a health check done with the NHS service, you know, looking at resources they can use. And it is making sure that they've got enough income in their pocket to pay for all of those things. So in that regard, show people examples. Don't be afraid. And we've had this in the past where our lawyers have said, oh, you can't give people this information. Of course we can. Show them examples. Show them what £100,000 buys and how it works out for each different choice and option that they've got. And then they can work out their own maths, can't they? They know if they've got 150, they'll get half again. Or if they've got 200,000, they'll get double what we're talking about. And explain the flexibilities in you know, as much as possible, that you can finish work, you can come back into the workplace, you can go part-time and transition if you want to. You can draw down from your pot if you like, and then buy an annuity later in life when the rates look a little bit better for you. So if we tell them all about how these things fit together, then they're really well prepared for that transitional you know, approach to the end of their career. But yeah, just help people along as much as possible, but don't do it by confusing them.
Yeah, very good point there too, Adrian, so thank you for that. So we hope you have found this webinar, and perhaps if you've listened to all three in the webinar series, has provided some useful insight on tailoring a benefit package for all your employees in each of their stages, their career stages. What we'd like to understand is actually if there have been any questions, or if you'd like to type some questions into the chat. As I said, it's all anonymous.
We did have a couple of people, Hannah, who asked for the previous webinars. So don't worry, we've got your details and we'll make sure that we send those over to you after we finish the webinar today. I'll take care of that for you.
Yeah, brilliant. Okay, and yeah, so yeah, if there haven't been any questions, then yeah, I'll hand over to Misha now. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks to you both. I personally obviously have joined all three sessions and I found them useful. So hopefully if you have attended all three, you have equally found them all useful. So thank you both so much for agreeing. Sorry, I was just think a question came through, but I think it was another request for the previous webinars. So personally from PayCheck, thank you to you both for agreeing to do the series. It was a great topic to talk about. If you would like to discuss anything further with Mattioli Woods, then please feel free to reach out to me. You will have received the invite from me if you're a PayCheck client already. If not, I'm assuming you're a Mattioli Woods client already. So I would assume you already have their details. But alternatively, thank you so much for dialing in this morning. And like we said, we will send the recording to you maybe today, maybe tomorrow. So you can refer back to anything if you would wish. But thank you so much. Hope you all enjoy the rest of your day and we'll speak to you soon.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.